Hi everyone, this is a short demonstration video on using the welding tool in the DAS stone stencil to do a simple two-color overlaid design. By that what I mean is we start out with a central piece which is completely filled and we overlay that with some lettering. The purpose of the welding tool is to punch out a good space around the lettering and the central design and to remove those excess filled rhinestone dots. So now we're going to go over to our DAS so that we can take a look on how that's accomplished. For the sake of timing, I've already put in the main pieces of our design. I've got my letter D here, which is the central figure. You want to use a font that's pretty wide or big, something that's going to fill very well and have a good detailed outline. So I've actually used a college black for my letter D. So I'm going to select on that and we're going to go ahead and use our rhinestone placing tool to get that filled. I'm going to use a 4.2 millimeter stone. I'm going to use a greens. I need a bright color so we can contrast with our lettering. You've got to outline and fill. Of course, you've got several fill options. I prefer the raster, so I'm going to leave that there. Spacing, my personal preference is I typically use 1.5 times my stone size. So we've got a 6.6 spacing between each stone. Going to hit our button there, and we've got that portion already filled. Here, we're going to use the word dragons as our text. A lot of times I will actually just pick a font and again use the rhinestone tool to place so that you can have something fancy. For the purpose of the design, we're just going to use one of DAS's installed fonts, and this happens to be the collegiate font. So I'm going to grab this and we're going to drag this right here and just put it on top of our letter D. To make this a little bit more interesting, we're going to slant this a little bit. So I'll move over here. You'll see the crosshair. I'm going to click, and that will give me these little handles here on the outside. And I can grab this handle here and just tilt this up just a little bit so we've got that going on a little slant through our letter D. And that will work fine. I'm going to slide this over just a little bit so we'll center that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out of wireframe for a minute. I'll press F9. So before we get ready to do our welding, we want to check on a couple of things. In this particular design, what we want to do is we want to punch our blue dots through our green dots. So in order to do that, we need to make sure the blue dots are on the top. So let's go here. We'll select the blue, that's our coloring, click on that blue color. We'll hit select, that's going to choose all of our blue dots. Let's go to view and to front. That puts all of our blue dots, as the top layer. The next thing you want to do in preparation for the welding is you want to make sure that everything is separate and there's nothing that may interfere with what you're trying to do when you start welding. I'm going to put this back into wireframe view by pressing my F9, and you'll see that we still have our red outline for that text letter D. It doesn't necessarily affect the welding, but just in case, I like to take that out of the picture. You can delete it, but what I typically do, I'll go here and click on the red. I'm going to right click that button and I'll make that not visible. And I do that because in case I have to come back and use that outline again for any cleanup, it's still there. So I haven't deleted it, I've just made it not visible. We'll go back into our main view. Now we're going to get into the main part of the welding. And everything needs to be individual. All your green dots need to be individual, all your blue dots need to be individual. So we can check our green and they're okay. Our blue we grouped because we wanted to slide that word across the screen. So let's go here to design and we want to break that apart. So we can check again, and now we have all individual dots. The first step to doing your welding is to select everything again simultaneously. So let's start with the blue since we want the blue to go through the green. Go back over here, click on our layer color, and we'll click on select. that chooses all of the blue dots. Now I'm going to hold down my shift key. I'm going to select the green layer color, click on my select button, and now everything should be selected in the order in which I want my welding to occur. The welding button is in your tools menu, so we're going to go here to tools, we'll go down here to welding, and we'll go over here to welding dialog, and we get this box here. As you can see, we're welding by color. Our blue are going through our green, and we're going to check this button for delete original because we want those green dots or what's left of them to go away once the blue have punched through them. I need a space, a clear area around my green dot when I'm done, so that's going to be the offset. I typically choose a 0.15. That's just a good spacing for what I usually do. You can increase that or decrease that depending on the effect that you're trying to achieve. And we're going to click on our welding button. And you'll see here, we're going to go in just a little closer, that some things have happened. You can see that you now end up with these little teeny pieces of what's left over of your green dots because the blue ones have punched them out. And then there's a nice little spacing around each blue dot where it overlaps any of the green. So what you need to do now in the final portion of this is what I like to call the cleanup step. Obviously you want to go in and you want to take out all of these little green remnants. Now what happens when you click the welding button is it joins everything back together. So you're going to have to go here, you'll click on your green, go back to design, and you want to break those apart. You go back in here and you click on your blue dots, you'll see again it's grouped, design, and you want to break that apart. Now you can get to those individual little remnants that are left behind, and you can start deleting them. Obviously you don't want to cut anything that's not a full circle. Now you can delete everything that's not a full circle, or in some instances you may come to one here, for example, just a piece of it has been cut off. You can delete it, and if you look at your final design and decide that you really don't want that large space there, of course you can always just go in, copy it, and just replace that somewhere. There we go. So you can replace that with a full dot to finish out your final design. Now we don't have enough time in this particular video to go through the entire cleanup portion, so what we'll do is we'll just pull up a quick sample of this design showing the final cleanup. And here you can see all of the little green remnants have been removed. We kind of kept some of the full dots that ended up being inside of the lettering and in between the lettering. Again, the finished design is up to you. If you don't want anything here, you can remove that. If you don't want anything in between the letters of your main wording, you can remove that too. But that basically is how you create a final two-color overlay design using the DAS stone stencil. You can put that on a nice little background, give it to your customer, and again then they come up with a cute little school design that's been doing pretty well.